Hello everyone and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade. I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 92. Today is Sunday, June 21st, 2015, and I'm quite glad you guys could join me today. I know I said I wasn't going to record this week, but it turned out our parents had to cancel their trip this weekend, so we knew about this like Monday night and there was all panic and craziness, but we ended up making it work out. Let's see. So, I was trying to think about what it is that I even really wanted to talk about today, and I do have quite a bit to show. It's just ordering stuff, so we shall, I suppose, get started. Let's see. Okay. I finished something this week. I finished a windsheath hat, so I think I hadn't started this last week. I said I was going to start it, so I finished it. I tried to make it in a gender-neutral color and to make it sort of a gender-neutral sort of pattern, so I think this will look, really cute as like sort of matchy. So this is a Stephen West pattern. It was very simple. It was fun to work to work basically the twisted rib swoop. And it's a little bit pointy off the head, but I think that's just because I had decided to do, or whatever, it was the case where you're doing 8 wedges and that isn't quite as perfectly flat as 10 when it comes to a hat. So this is going to be another addition to the SSK cal. I think this one turned out to be, 120, I think it was 123 meters for Stash Dash, so now I'm at 3,300.6. So I'm definitely doing really well for Stash Dash so far, so I totally blew by 3K, no problem, and we'll see if I can make it to 5K before the end. So, hat done. Woohoo! FO for the win. So I'm not even quite sure what day I started it on. I just sort of vaguely said Monday. It was one of those things where it went fast. It was a pretty mindless project. It was really easy to work on, so in that regard it was certainly a win. Okie doke. So, I think time to go in order. I'll have to rearrange slightly. I have my bucket of stuff. So, this is how far I ended up getting on the Union Jack Argyle socks. So I am about an inch and a half, and a toe away from being done. So I have both of these on blockers, and I just have this guy hanging out. So I was close, but no cigar. I'm not even sure that if I had ripped out the toe and made red toes that it would have worked out anyways. I certainly have plenty of the red yarn left, and that's how much blue I have left. So enough to sort of work it in at the same time once I get my extra skein. So my mother-in-law says that it's going to be, or that she's mailing it at some point this week, so these will soon be done. And then they will be done being the terrible cursed socks that they are. But that was, I think I was working on that until I ran out of yarn, and then I cast on the hat. The other thing I'm working on is something I also said that I was going to cast on last week, so I'm glad I was good to my word. This is, so last week I said I was going to be casting on the Jack, and I tried the Jack, and it wasn't really working quite right with, 72 stitches and wool mycete yarn. So then I switched to doing the short row shuffle pattern, which is a Kristen Hall pattern. She is, her hot pattern right now is like Into the Woods or something like that. And she is also the person who ended up writing the hexagon pattern, and you know how I feel about hexagons. So it's turning out really cool. The other thing was that it turned out I needed to actually rip back and start all over again last night, because it turned out the 72 stitch sock with the short rows and my gauge was actually made it so that it was, like it turned out that I needed a 64 stitch sock instead. Like the sock was like 10.5 inches around. It was gauge gone terribly, terribly wrong. So it took out an inch, and this should hopefully work. But I am just so happy with how it's pooling. And actually the pooling is a function of how many short rows you have, not how many stitches you have. So the pooling pattern is actually the same whether you have 72 or 68 or 64 stitches for this particular yarn. So it's really cool. I'm thinking, what is it? I was showing it to the Deer Suit Level 1 and he's like, oh yeah, I would like socks with that. So we shall see. And hopefully it is the correct size now. It seems to be fitting decently on my 9-inch circ, so we'll go from there. I'm knitting these on 0, so that's why I was really surprised that it turned out to be such a huge sock, but such is life. So it makes for sort of a gentle pooling pattern, which is cool. And the way that it's pooling, I think, makes it look very nice. When I was knitting the checks, it was turning into a standing blob once I got into the pattern. So it was stripy in the cuff, and then it wasn't really showing the pattern. You sort of need to have short stripes in order for check to really look good, so it might turn out to be a bad yarn for my Woolmisa. So we shall see. Or maybe it turns out that I can get away with the 64 stitch sock, and in which case it was probably going to look fine. I was sort of tempted after I switched to 64 to try the Jack pattern again, but I think I can just wait for another time, and that these will be really awesome socks when they're done. So, still have socks underneath this. I don't think it's a not so used pattern anymore, so that's okay. Now what I ended up casting on today, and the reason why maybe I'm podcasting a little bit later than usual, is actually after 7 now, is that I have been working on a pattern for the SSK cal. Now this particular cal is for Mary Jane Mucklestone, and I was searching and searching and searching to try to find a pattern of hers that I wanted to knit, which was free, because I didn't really want to pay for a pattern. Not that her patterns aren't lovely, but that, what is it? I decided to combine knitting for the charity cal for SSK with the other cals, so it was just the case where I didn't really want to spend money for a charity hat, if you know what I mean. So, so what I'm working on is the Andean ear flap hat, and it is full of all sorts of ridiculousness. For lack of a better word, it is quite the ridiculous hat, and is probably also more so ridiculous because I don't, strictly speaking, have enough of any one color in my acrylic stash which would go together in a hat, so then I ended up deciding to combine many colors together. So now it's sort of a case where it's like, ooh, how long it is till I run out of yarn. So this could be a very exciting hat indeed. So what is it? Oh, I just really feel like knitting on it right now. Oh, I guess I'm to the end of the row now. So, it was rather addicting knitting on it. So there are ends all over the place, but I will be cleaning them up at some point. But here is a little ear flap that has all of the colors I'm planning to use incorporated into it. And at this point I'm all out of this yellow, so the yellow was ribbing, and now I am working on the chart. So this was something from, I think it was like an interweave pattern or something like that. So I'm working on the chart. I'm almost to, what is it? So it's like a 25 row chart or something like that. So it'll be the case where, so what I did was I gathered all of my yarns. So the main color that I have is actually going to be this red color, which is the same as the wind sheath hat. And that's Caron Simply Soft. Then the other color, which has a lot in it, is going to be this sort of variegated one, which has like blues and yellows and sort of hints of green and gray. Then another one of the colorwork colors is actually going to be this medium blue color. And then I have gray and this green color because I thought green would end up tying everything together. So I don't have a whole lot of the gray or green, so they're going to be sort of interlude colors, which are in between the colorwork sections. So I had like maybe like 5 yards of the green, and then I had like 11 yards of the gray. Oh, and then this blue color will be another one of the colorwork sections, and I don't recall how many was this, but I think it'll all work out somehow. And yeah, so I've knit all of the yellow. I'm just grabbing the 2 main colors, so, or the mainish colors. So this is the green and this is the red. So I still have lots and lots of the red. So I'm hoping that that will take me as far as I need to go. Oh, silliness. But it has been rather addicting to work on this hat for whatever reason. I'm not, like, I pretty much just cast on today. Well, I did cast on today. There was no pretty much about that. Sorry, my yarn got stuck in my zipper. So now I'm trying to free my yarn from the zipper. It just had gotten stuck in the little pull thing, so it wasn't anything major. And then a mosquito was trying to bite me. I'm not a fan of mosquitoes. Probably should have turned on the fan to keep them away. So, these two are going on top of each other probably twice in the pattern. And then this one and this one are going on top of each other once. And then my 2 border areas will be the gray and the green. So then I will have incorporated all of the colors somewhat artfully, because all of them show up in the flap, or in the ear flaps, and we'll go from there. So far, so good. So it's a pretty simple thing. The ear flap was a little bit fiddly, and I actually made them smaller than the pattern called for. I think I was supposed to have 2 more sections, and I think I was supposed to combine them differently. But I was just trying to sort of tie everything in the hat together, and that seemed to be the best way to get the most out of the yarn I had. And we'll see, actually, how tall it ends up being. Because hopefully it turns out to be regular hat shape. No, because I'm also using far less stitches than the pattern called for as well. So it was a case where the chart has like a 22 stitch repeat or something like that. So it's just a matter of, what is it? So the chart has a 22 stitch repeat, so then I'm making an 88 stitch hat. And then I lined up the pattern repeats so that they were centered with the center of the ear flaps. And the ear flaps turned out to be 22 stitches as well. So it was very interesting to construct the little ear flaps. So that was an adventure. I don't know if that is the preferred ear flap construction method, but it is pretty interesting. So you start knitting garter stitch, and then you incorporate the other colors, and then you do a little short row to turn the corner, and then you start going back the other side, and then you pick up stitches on this side in the center thing. And then they had to do a 3-needle bind off to bring everything together. So then it turned out that I had screwed up right side and wrong side, and so I ended up going with this as the way. And there'll be quite a lot of ends to weave in. Hopefully it won't be too bad now that I'm in the color work section. So it's been so fun so far with the color work. So I'm almost halfway through the first set of blocks, and then I'll do my interlude row, and then I will do my next set of blocks. And I suppose that I could sit down and probably figure out how close I am to, what is it? If I'm going to have enough yarn in order to do the blue block or something like that. I'm assuming I do. Or whatever. It'll work out. So, it's been fun so far with the color work, and we'll go from there. I'm betting this will end up getting a bit more work on it tonight than my socks. Those socks are fun too. Because every round of short ropes is like approximately 4 rounds of knitting, so it feels like it takes a while to knit a round on the short rope pattern. But then you get a nice thick block of stuff. Now what'll be interesting is I need to figure out how in the world I'm going to put in a heel. Because I'm probably... So the pattern calls for short row heel, and I know short row heel doesn't fit my heel very well. So then it's a question of, do I put in like an afterthought heel? And that might just need to turn out to be the case. So put in an afterthought heel, do a couple rounds in order to make it a bit longer, or maybe just look up and see, look up and see maybe if there are a couple of variations that I can do in order to fill it out a bit more. The afterthought heel probably isn't too bad in the grand scheme of things. And then you end up doing the shorter pattern around and around and around and around. So, what is it? So, at some point you have to whack in a toe too, so it should be the end of the world. But it does make for, it isn't necessarily one where you could do like gusset decreases on it, so I think I have to do probably an afterthought heel on it. So that's the story there. Even the OMG heel I don't think would quite work right for that. So, oh well. Figure it out eventually. Okay, so I'm not sure what is it. I probably won't cast on anything new until I finish something, which more than likely will be the little hat. In which case I will have done as many of the SSK cows as I could. That'll probably add up to a decent amount of yardage for the charity hat knit along. So that'll be good. And maybe I'll start a shawl. I'm not sure which shawl. But I think that sounds like a pretty decent plan for good summer knitting, you know what I mean? Because I was noticing as I was knitting on the hat and it was sitting in my lap, and be like, this is warm. So hopefully it's not the case where I'm like losing all knitting mojo, because there will never be a time when it will be comfortable outside. We're not there yet. It's actually it's been really comfortable this weekend, so it hasn't. I think my description for yesterday was soupy but lukewarm. And it was the case where during my normal podcasting time there was a thunderstorm, so I decided to wait until the lighting was better. Okay, so the last thing I was working on was my chamomile connection fiber. So, what is it? I weighed it, and I think I have 2.9 grams left, so that means I have about an ounce on the spindle so far, and then I still have a decent amount left to go. So, that has been coming along slowly but surely. What is it? The Dear Level and I started to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and so then I had been spinning while watching Buffy. And I probably still have some podcasts to catch up on as well, so that's a good thing to spin to. So it's coming along slowly but surely. I probably need to work on it a little bit more to get it off. And what I want to do is to Navajo apply it on the wheel to give myself some more practice from the JC Boggs class. So it'll actually be a pretty thick yarn when it's done. I'm letting it be thick. And it's Polworth, so it's going to be even more floofy. So, but that is a part of my spin the bin. I haven't been working too hard as of late on my spin the bin fibers because a bunch of things had jumped it in line, but I think things are looking pretty good for it now. The plan is to resume the chocolate Shetland fleece spinning for Tour de Fleece. Oh, this is pretty hilarious. So, Brooke, who is my friend from Albuquerque, she ended up messaging me the other day, like, hey, I was clearing off my porch and you have the rest of this fiber, so I'll be getting some more chocolate Shetland fleece in the mail, and it'll be dirty and full of hay, and I'll have to clean it. But it's good news because that means I don't need to use the crappy fiber to finish my sweater spin, so it might turn out that I have a little bit more fiber now, and then I can, whatever, spin the whole lot of it, and if I have extra, whatever. So that was pretty exciting, because I have this pile of, like, really dreadful fiber that basically they're seconds and they should be thrown into the compost heap. And now that I'm getting the rest of the fiber, I can. So that was exciting. I'll probably wait until the rest of the fiber arrives before throwing it into the compost heap, but it's looking likely. So I'm not sure how swiftly I'll be burning through all that fiber, but the wheel is clear, everything's ready to go. I'll probably have to look up and figure out when it is that Tour de France starts, and that'll probably be another, thing to watch for the Dear State Level 1. Spinning and bicycling. So that's the story there. So I keep talking about the chocolate Shetland fleece, and maybe at some point I'll actually finish it, but I just thought it was hilarious that I'm getting the rest in the mail this week. Okay, so I believe that's everything for this week. So Stash Dash continues on, Spin the Bin is continuing on. I am still working on my underappreciated patterns Cal sock. Well, somewhat. We'll see if the yarn arrives. I am using some more wool myself, so the balance is restored. And what is it? All of the SSK cows, so busy, busy, busy. So I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the 28th. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.